We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free of hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. Good morning. Nice to have the drums this morning, Steve. Thank you. And as always, Toby. I'm the Reverend Kevin Tarsa, if you're not sure who I am this morning. I invite us to release ourselves from our devices for the next hour. I invite us to silence our cell phones and other, we can turn our cell phones off. Yes, there we go. And I invite us to, in a moment, welcome one another. So if you're online, I invite you to either turn on your camera and wave or type into the chat, say hello to the people that are with you. If you're in the room, I invite you to make sure everyone around you is greeted well. I invite you to greet one another this morning to say hello.
So Reverend Kevin said I had to get you quiet. I don't know what he was thinking. So, you know, we've heard that there are some people out here who've never gotten to do the land acknowledgement and would actually like to do the land acknowledgement. So if you are that person or persons, would you pop up? Who would like to do it? Come on, okay. Here we are.
Okay. In our commitment to be in right relations with the descendants of this area's indigenous people, we place this small basket of black oak acorns on our altar each week. May the tribal sovereignty of the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan be restored through federal recognition. Lighting of the chalice. Oh, that's yours. Just gonna keep on going. I'll just take over.
That's how it works. Thank you for that introduction. Perfect. Well, in a similar way, we are going to crowdsource the lighting of the chalice. So a chalice with a flame in it is a symbol of this Unitarian Universalist tradition. It's a symbol we inherited out of the justice work of the Unitarians, and it's a symbol that we continue to shape even as we use it. At the same time, not only is it a symbol of the tradition, it's a symbol of this congregation. And so when we light it at the beginning of the service, we often light it with words to call us to this moment, often naming what we hope the chalice will represent, what its flame will represent. Sometimes we might say the light of truth. We light it for the warmth of love, the energy of action, the harmony of peace, for example. So this morning, I invite you to create the chalice lighting words together by completing the sentence that begins, "We light this chalice." So here are a couple ways you might think about it. We light this chalice for, or we light this chalice to, or we light this chalice to remember, or we light this chalice to celebrate, or we light this chalice as a symbol of. And I invite you to keep in mind not only why you personally would want to light the chalice, but why this community might together light the chalice. It's a both and. So take a moment to think, how might we this morning complete that sentence? I'm going to ask for several answers to it. So take a moment. We light this chalice. It's really a question about what matters to you, what you believe probably matters to this room full of people. We light this chalice for the Nisenan people.
For Ukraine, that's what
We light this chalice for Ukraine.
As a symbol of community.
We light this chalice as a symbol of community. Online folks too.
As a symbol of commitment.
We light this chalice as a symbol of commitment. We light this chalice for the abundance and safety and healing of the world. We light this chalice as a symbol of the flame burning in each of us in our search for truth, justice, and meaning. We light this chalice for peace in Palestine. We light this chalice as a symbol of our spirit. What else?
As a symbol of hope.
We light this chalice as a symbol of hope.
To remember those who've gone before us.
We light this chalice to remember those who have gone before us. We light this chalice to bring light where there is darkness.
We would light this chalice to celebrate the love and warmth of beloved community here and across the globe.
We light this chalice to celebrate the love and warmth of beloved community here and across the globe.
We light this chalice to remind us to pause.
We light this chalice to remind us to pause. Oh, we need to do this more often. And now I would invite someone to actually light the chalice. Who would like to light the chalice this morning? Tom will light the chalice this morning. And so very wonderfully, the chalice is lit this morning. And we send that light and all that we named with our youngest people. At the very least, the adults that spend time with them. So let's send the light, Cheryl Spalding, who does beautiful work upstairs with our young ones. Let's sing together, This Little Light of Mine. This little light
Good morning. I am Gail Johnson Vaughan, your worship associate for this rich month of Sundays at the Unitarian Universalist Community of the Mountains right here in Grass Valley, California. Today, we conclude our focus theme exploring justice and equity, the gifts of justice and equity. On February 4th, we pondered how the pursuit of justice and equity, which far too often eludes our grasp, could bring joy unspeakable, riding on the waves of Tracy's daughter Erica's incredible singing. Then we looked at the inner work that's required of each of us to claim a life of joy and justice. Last week, we explored going beyond wanting to see ourselves as helpful, beyond what's in it for me, to come to live remembering that each and all of us are in this together. And today, Reverend Kevin has given each of us an egg, and it's not even Easter. How does an egg relate to justice and equity? Well, I promised you a wild ride when we began this month. We, and that means each of us, offer a wide circle of welcome. A few minutes ago, we enthusiastically each welcomed as many folks as we could get to, and our visitors too seemed to be opening their hearts to all around them. And our Zoomers, they were doing the same in the chat. Yes, we are a we. In that we, each of us is unique. Each of us is different, and at the same time, we're similar, despite our separate labels, our different backgrounds, the various ages, skin tones, abilities, gender expression, on. And we are each and all welcome here. Our circle of welcome does not ask us to pray or not to pray. It doesn't ask us to limit the sources we draw from to feed our souls. It says, and please join me as I say it, welcome. Welcome.
So we're about to sing, but we don't know which song yet. So Cypress, would you put that back up yet? Yeah. So which of these three songs do you want to sing? Think about it for a moment if you know them. If you don't know them, just take what you get from the title or maybe even the picture and think about for a moment in the room which one you want. And on Zoom, we're going to launch a poll actually to ask you which of those you want to sing. All of them. So this should be showing up for the folks on Zoom. You get a chance to vote. You get to click on the one you want to sing most. And in the room, we're going to ask for show of hands. So get ready. So in the room, who would most like to sing Blue Boat Home? So let's get a read. Help me get a read on everybody on what we're seeing. It's a lot. I'll name for the folks who are on Zoom. Who would like to sing Alleluia Chaconne? Not quite so many. And who would like to sing Spirit of Life? Okay, I think there's a pretty clear winner in the room, and that happens to be, although it's neck and neck almost with Spirit of Life. Oh, Blue Boat Home is pulling ahead. Blue Boat Home gets it. We are going to sing Blue Boat Home. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and to sing.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Thank you.
We kind of anticipated that choice. So for those who don't know, last night we had a first kind of full congregation, lots of members and friends dinner for the first time in 4 years. The last one was just 2 weeks before the pandemic closed everything down. So it was a special joy to be together. And last night, the theme was to wear black and white of any sort. And so today, notice there's quite a bit more color in the room. It was a wonderful joy. Thanks to everyone who was there and who helped it happen, truly, truly. So I invite us to name together, once again, some of the large things on our hearts and minds today. So we have the personal things, but what are the large collective things? We heard some perhaps already in the chalice lighting, but what would you name as the joy, sorrow, the concern that you think is weighing for many of us or lifting many of us? Gaza, people, the suffering of people in Gaza.
Our democracy.
Our democracy. Challenges to our democracy. Ukraine, the suffering of the people in Ukraine and the risks.
Homelessness across our country.
Homelessness across our country. Susan, you had something? Oh, I thought,
Right. Alex Navalny's courage.
Alex Navalny's courage.
The safety of trans youth lives.
The safety of trans youth lives. Shanti.
Nisanam purchase of the woman property.
Nisanam purchase of the woman property. John.
Gun violence.
Gun violence.
Safety of the immigrants at the border.
The safety of the immigrants at the border.
Pre-spring.
Pre-spring. Yes, lifting, right?
Lifting. Yes.
Oak. Oh, mental health. Oak.
Deterioration of Earth Mother.
The deterioration of Earth Mother.
Oppression of all kinds.
Oppression of all kinds.
And daffodils.
And daffodils, little mini ones outside, right outside here in the sunshine. These among many others, what are some of the personal things that maybe are going on for you that you think you're probably not alone in? People have their own versions of this. Aging. That would be all of us. Not aging, not all of us. I'll name the challenge of relating to family who see things very differently politically than I do. That's a struggle at the moment. Transitions. Yeah.
Divine presence.
Divine presence.
Listening.
listening. I invite us to hold all of that, and of course, much more, knowing that we never know all of it for other people. Sometimes it takes us a while to know that for ourselves, what's actually working in us. I invite us to engage in this ritual, if we're here in the room, of placing a stone in the bowl of water, to acknowledge that, to have this physical acknowledgement of what we carry in so many other ways. And for those who are on Zoom, if you're interested and willing to type into the chat a piece of what you're carrying today, I invite us to hold each other throughout. In other words, not to treat this as time off, but time in, time on, together, and focus together, as you are interested and willing and able. Full bowl. Full bowl. I've placed stones for the rest, for those things that are named by people on Zoom today in the chat, for all that we're holding. And Gail has lit the 2 candles here, for especially those larger things that we're holding together. I invite us for our meditation, for our prayer today, to sing together once again. No choice this time. To sing together, comfort me. Knowing that when we sing that, we're taking in as much of that as we need to take in, but also we're singing that for the sake of each other, for the comfort that other people need. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and to sing together.
Sing
With the annual stewardship campaign about to begin, the focus this morning is on stewardship. So let's just jump right in. Who's got a working definition of stewardship that you find meaningful or that you're willing to create on the spot, perhaps? What does stewardship mean? What is stewardship? Or what does stewardship entail? And online folks, I invite you to type into the chat, and Eileen, if you would chime in with some of those answers. So what is stewardship? Navigation. Sorry? To care for. I heard that in two different places. To care for. To support the goals and aspirations of others. Ownership. Participation. To share. To commit. To treasure. To care for something that will be here after you're gone. And Alec isn't.
Is it ownership for now?
Ownership for now. Nurture to fullness. To preserve. Parenting.
Caring for and management.
Caring for and management.
Sharing and working for the health of this community.
For those who don't know the disembodied voice, this is Eileen Hale, who hosts our chat, who hosts the online folks. Thank you, Eileen. Great definition. So what I would point out is that there are kind of two...
Got some more online.
Oh, some more. Okay, go ahead.
True belonging, tending and holding responsibility for, and service.
Beautiful definitions and aspects of stewardship. So I would point out in that there are kind of two primary components. One is the care part, right? The care responsibility part. And the other part is for something beyond ourselves, beyond the moment, for something beyond, right? Not just ours. And I would say it's a slight variation on ownership. So if you saw the slides before the service, you may have seen this quote from Josh Steimel. The difference between ownership and stewardship is that you can do what you want with what you own. When you become a steward, you recognize that you have just as much control as an owner, but a responsibility that's greater than yourself. The control of an owner, but a responsibility that's greater than yourself. The stewardship story that I grew up with was the parable of the talents, a teaching story attributed to Jesus in two different gospels in the Christian scriptures. And I will tell you, I never liked this parable. For today's purposes, taking out some of the problematic social elements, the core dynamic of the story is this. A person with wealth and power is going away and entrusts portions of their wealth to a set of others to care for while they're gone. In other words, to a set of stewards, who for the time being will have the control of an owner and the responsibility beyond themselves. So in one version of the story, the first person is given 5 talents to care for. And a talent in this biblical teaching story refers not to a form of skill, right? It refers to money. And a talent might not sound like much, but the average worker in those days would, for an average worker, 1 talent would equal about 20 years worth of wages. So 1 talent is 20 years worth of wages. 5 talents is a lot, right? 5 doesn't sound like much, but it's a lot. So one person is given 5 talents to care for, and another is given 2, and a third person is given 1 talent based on, I assume, the wealthy owner's assessment of what they can risk with each of those people. So while the bigwig is away, the first person invests the 5 talents and makes another 5, and so has 10 talents at the end. The second person invests the 2 talents in their hands and also doubles their money, making 2 more. And the third person, very sensibly, I always thought, buried their one talent in the ground so it would be safe till the owner returned. Burying money was a very common way to store money in that time and place. So the wealthy person comes back much later, delighted that the 5-talent person has doubled that amount, blesses and celebrates the person who did the investing, even though investing was not quite legal, and then sticks a gold star on them and says, I'm going to put you in charge of all kinds of things. Joy. Same response to the second person who doubled the 2 talents. Although I think they got a silver star. And then comes the third person who says, you scare me. So I buried the 1 talent to keep it safe. And look, here it is, safe, all good. At which point the wealthy owner, very unreasonably, I always thought, says, you wicked and lazy person, you should have invested it and earned me more. And the owner not only takes the 1 talent and gives it to the head of the class 10-talent person, but also calls the 1-talent person worthless and has them thrown out into the outer darkness where the owner says, and I quote, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Now, there are a few more details in there, but that's the gist. What would your takeaway from that story be? One Christian preacher said that this is the most abused parable in the Bible, used to promote all kinds of misguided notions about wealth and money and prosperity. I'll tell you, it scared me as a kid, even when we were invited to think of it as a story about instruction to use our skills and our talents for good. Not to hide them, but to let them shine for the sake of the world and the sake of others. It was the owner's punitive response that so disturbed me. And this in a parable that was supposed to be describing what the kingdom of God is like. Now, I could see encouraging and even rewarding people for taking a meaningful risk for good, but punishing someone who was just being pragmatically safe and who hadn't lost any money. I was a universalist even way back then, apparently. Or at the very least, concerned with fairness. So why am I sharing this story? Because stewardship and stewardship campaigns have all kinds of stories and expectations attached to them. Based on our life experiences, the stories we grew up with, our own risk tolerance, our inherited or our acquired lists of shoulds and oughts, and maybe even a fear of being thrown into the outer darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, especially if money's involved. So I would like us to hold a different sense of stewardship. Got your egg? Yes, it's made its way to many pockets, to some hands, purses. We ask that these eggs be passed out before the service to those here on site, knowing that hanging on to these eggs would probably be a bit awkward and cumbersome, though perhaps also oddly soothing. They're so smooth. That they might occasionally be dropped noisily onto the floor. It might be rolling around. And knowing that you might not be sure or in fact have any idea why you're holding one. And that might be confusing even, or frustrating. If you've read the description of today's service, you know the origin of the egg symbol for today. I was remembering the methods used in high schools for helping young people learn how to parent. Now, nowadays, some schools use very high-tech dolls. For example, the Real Care Baby 3 Infant Simulator, formerly known as, truly, Baby Think It Over. I love that. So it coos and cries and needs feeding and burping and diaper changing, and it tracks electronically whether you have adequately supported the baby's head or mishandled the baby. the amount of time it's spent in a car seat, and how often you've changed its clothes. But before the Real Care Baby 3 infant simulator, the long-time low-tech teaching method was to send students home with an egg or an empty eggshell to keep it with them or someone they trust at all times, and to keep it safe for somewhere between 2 days and 2 weeks. As I said in the description, results varied. Anybody do that in school? Yes, of a certain age, right? We did the egg piece. With stewardship, we're talking about something precious, and unlike these wooden eggs, something breakable, actually, in our hands, which we're asked to care for a time, not for ourselves only, but for something or someone beyond ourselves. So here's a question. What are some of the things or the people you steward in your life or have stewarded in your life with the control or power of an owner, but a responsibility beyond just you, beyond yourself? I invite you to call out or type into the chat. And again, Eileen, I'll invite you to chime in. What are some of the things you have stewarded or even steward now in your life? Martha.
My son.
Your son.
I was a teacher.
Was a teacher. So the students.
Preschoolers.
Preschoolers. Caregivers. Caregivers. Stewarding caregivers.
My land.
Your land.
My dogs.
My dogs.
My old growth sugar pine forest.
My old growth sugar pine forest.
Tomatoes.
Tomatoes. My home.
Myself.
Myself.
My marriage.
My marriage. I'm thinking very. Go ahead.
Pets, Maidu language, neighborhood, my friends, children.
I'm thinking of projects too, right? We're given responsibility for something to happen, and we steward that.
Had a sailboat as the captain.
Stewarding the sailboat. In terms of justice, right? We are stewarding collective well-being, right? Collective safety, collective equity. Justice is this thing in our hands that we have power to control pieces of, right? But that are far beyond us. So when we claim the notion of being stewards of this congregation, of this Unitarian Universalist community, for those of you who claim that, what are we stewarding exactly? If we're stewarding this congregation, what is it that we're stewarding with the control of an owner, but a responsibility beyond ourselves? What would you name?
The building.
The building. We're stewarding the building.
Relationships.
Relationships.
The staff.
The staff.
Values.
Values. We're stewarding values.
The vision.
The vision of the congregation.
Collective spiritual health.
Collective spiritual health, says Sophia. Martha. The future. We're stewarding the future.
Community of people and our shared values.
Earl.
Sacred music.
Sacred music. I sometimes describe members of UU congregations as member owners, but it's more than that. It's this. It's really member owner steward, right? All wrapped together. I'll share that we ministers are taught to enter the life of a congregation from day one, remembering always that the congregation existed before us and will, we hope, exist after us. We are encouraged, therefore, not to refer to my congregation, but to the congregation that I serve. It's a reminder to ourselves as much as anything. In addition, we're taught to remember that we are stewards not only of a particular congregation, but as ministers, we are stewards of the Unitarian Universalist tradition. It's in our hands in this place for a while, and we do it through the ministry with the congregation, holding it in our hands together. So we are stewarding the whole tradition. And we Unitarian Universalist ministers are asked to be stewards of ministry. From our very first day in a new setting, we are encouraged to have in mind the minister who will eventually come after us. We are asked to care for the ministry in our hands for a time, for the sake of ministers after us and for the sake of ministers and ministry everywhere, right? Because what we do and how we do it has implications elsewhere. So a final question. And my egg's starting to get shiny. In what ways do members here, so we talked about what we steward, let's talk about the how. In what ways do members and friends and guests even steward this congregation, steward the congregation in our collective hands? What does that look like? How does stewarding happen? Task forces who take on a particular task to accomplish something. Volunteering, finances by giving, by pledging, which is a form of giving, finances. Caring for each other. Showing up as a way of stewarding. Being present. Not just physically, but I hear otherwise too, right? Yeah. Listening. Welcoming newcomers is a way of stewarding. Putting on our aprons. For those who don't know, this is a reference to taking off our bibs and putting on our aprons when we become members, and not just receiving, but also being ready to serve.
Shine the light of the congregation when speaking about it out in the world.
Shining a light on the congregation, speaking about it when out in the world.
And also communication.
Communication. Yesterday, not only was there the really wonderful dinner in the evening, there was a work day here in the morning. Who participated in the work day in the morning? Thank you. Thank you. Wiping up the counter in the kitchen. Phil Horning installed that new piece of wood so the cables for the camera aren't just cables hanging there. Lovely, lovely. So you are naming what in stewardship language is often referred to as a set of time, talent, and treasure, right? So it's an investment of our energy, right? Time is a precious resource. Oh my goodness, do we know that? Our skills, our talents, the things we're good at, able to do, and the treasure, the money piece. So it can look like somebody putting up their own home as collateral to purchase a mortuary. Building ramps so that people can get where they need to go on this floor, at least. Enlarging restrooms, painting, rewiring, rebuilding, beautifying, plumbing, serving in all the roles, but also in those very momentary things like how you say hello to somebody when you see them, right? It's everything we do is a way of stewarding. And yes, also by giving money, the ancient meaning of the word talent. Now, I know talking about money can still call forth weeping and gnashing of teeth for some of us. It's got all kinds of taboos and discomforts and shadows attached to it. And it's one important way we steward our values, which remains, it's one way we steward our values beyond ourselves. You may be familiar with the Judeo-Christian ideal of tithing, of giving 1/10 of one's annual produce or livestock or money to a religious organization or a government. And it was and still is in some communities actually compulsory. People are required to give 1/10. But ours is a voluntary religious association. We still encourage a yearly goal when people are feeling deeply invested here of pledging 10% of one's annual income, if people can do so, knowing that not everyone can. Some Unitarian Universalists choose to pledge 5% to their congregation and 5% to other causes because we care about a lot of causes. And others start where they can. It's important also to know that a waiver is always available for the people who simply do not have the means to give. No one is cast into the outer darkness. My encouragement always is to give meaningfully in accordance with your means, such that you feel it enough to recognize it as a meaningful voluntary choice, right? To feel it as it mattering to you. And why? In part because of the way giving affects you, the way giving actually supports us as individuals. And also, not simply to maintain an institution because it's already going, but because you recognize its value and its values, not just to you, not just for you, but to something beyond you. And not just for now, but for what will be. You'll get to hear in a moment from your board, and you will get information from your visiting steward about maintaining the institution and what that would require for this coming year, including compensating our staff with integrity. And you'll learn what doing more than maintaining would require between all of us. Now, it may help you to know that UUCM supports the Unitarian Universalist Association. It's a grouping of congregations that voluntarily agree to group together. And this congregation will do that to the tune of $13,600 next year. A meaningful amount, right? It matters. And I would offer that, so it used to be based on number of members. It's not anymore. It's based on the expenses of the congregation. But if we were to kind of parcel that out, it's about $100 per member for UUCM currently. And UUCM gets all kinds of support for that, all kinds of resources and access. But it's also the way this congregation stewards the tradition for more than us, right? It's one of the ways we steward Unitarian Universalism beyond us. Now I'll share that I pledge to UUCM, though not all ministers can, and not all ministers do for a number of reasons. And I tithe. I pledge 10% of my adjusted gross income to UUCM. I do so not only because of what it is, but also because of what it is always becoming. Oh, it's always incubating, even when I can't see exactly what's inside there, what the new life is going to be, what form that's going to take. And in the current state of the world and nation, I choose to give meaningfully to steward not only what happens here, but what ripples out from here. Like in the vote for the mine, for example, or the feeding of people who are hungry, and the influence everyone here has on the people around them. Now, I expect that sometimes it feels like the egg of UUCM is in somebody else's hands, not yours, but it's not. It is truly not. It is in your hands, or rather, it's in all the members' hands. Now, what I would have loved for today is an enormous room-size inflatable egg that we could all have our hands on, and that would take all of us to hold up together. And that would represent one piece of the truth. The companion piece of the truth is that there is also an egg in your very own hands. The UUCM that you steward with care, with your time, with your skills, with your attention, with your talents, with your conversations, and with your money. When your visiting steward calls, you members and pledging friends, you'll get a call or a contact from a steward, and they invite a conversation. I invite you to please say yes. As Reverend Sarah said encouragingly last Sunday, those stewards are gearing up to be so brave to have this very visit with you. A very important part of what they'll be stewarding and investing in is your relationship with each other and relationships with the congregation. The conversation is primary, and they will ask you also to consider thoughtfully your pledge for the coming fiscal year. Hopefully, there will be no unhelpful weeping or gnashing of teeth. And if you are tempted to decline their invitation, to say, I don't really want or need a visit or conversation, I ask you to reconsider. To think of this, as I mentioned recently, as part of being a member. To say yes with the control of an owner, but with the care and meaningful sense of responsibility of a steward. With your own sense of care and responsibility for this valuable, vulnerable, strong, perfectly imperfect, important, needed, ever more needed community in your hands, always in the process of being born. So may all of us be member, friend, minister, and even guest wherever you steward something of value to you. The wooden egg is yours to take home. Whether or not this is yet a home for you, I invite you to take it with you as a reminder of all that you hold with care and some measure of control and responsibility in your hands. And add a couple more pieces of the puzzle. Renee Wiley, your president, who holds a pretty good sized egg in her hands in that role.
Thank you, Rev Kevin. I almost have nothing much more to add, but that was lovely. So I am excited, though. I'm glad to be up here to kick off a new cycle of reciprocity with the 2024-25 pledge campaign that we're having the theme of creating community in an ever-changing world. And we will connect to why we love our community and why it's worth giving generously to. Now, I know Rev Kevin has already talked about money a little bit, and it makes us uncomfortable, but I'm inviting us to get comfortable with the uncomfy things, right? Money is weird, it is. So who here is a cycle breaker? Do we have any cycle breakers in the room? All right, I see you, I see you. And I appreciate those who are not cycle breakers too. I appreciate you all. I just want to celebrate this weird thing because we know that money and giving connects us to our spirit. Money is energy. And energy can be pent up or it can be released. Money is powerful. It can be used generatively or destructively. Money is connective. It can bind us together and it can tear us apart. Money is a part of our everyday lives. And how we use money reflects in our values, and our energy grows abundant love and hope. We have created this beloved community for all. And we have good energy here, such good energy. We are generous in many ways. So I will encourage us to remember, some of the things that we do with joyful reciprocity. We know the energy of the love that we put out. It continues to ripple through people's lives. We are both grounded ourselves and we lift our spirits in Rev Kevin's powerfully connective sermons in the sanctuary, online, and by podcast. Our teams and committees put energy of love and hope into our mission, and we create a network of care through our many groups and our strong justice arm. We're a UUA Good Trouble congregation. There is such good energy there. We don't even have time to list all of the new ideas that are coming and keep coming, put forward by you to experiment with. They are all doable with lots of generous energy. Sophia McKeon is delivering a new weeknight Vespers service offering hope outside of Sundays. And there's the monthly Pride Family Potluck for LGBTQ folks and allies, the Jam Cafe, the Grief Support Group, and so much more. Just take a look at our calendar of events. My head spins. Go and take a look for yourself and see all the new things. See if you can spot them and remind yourself of all of the things that you love to do. We connected this year with more than 175 visitors. And there's a growing number of folks moving on to membership. In a world that is currently challenging our values and our peace of mind, it is good to know that UUCM is here for us. So imagine what UUCM could do with an increase in your pledge energy, one that helps to take us to our target budget of $250 and beyond to $275,000. It includes the things that Rev Kevin named. UUCM is worth it. Our values are worth giving generous energy toward. Each year, Steve and I aim to increase our pledge. It's true, don't we, Steve? Steve may or may not like to talk about money, but this is a whole thing that we do. I usually, pencil in the 10% of our income because, wow, that is great. And then, he'll maybe bump it back a little bit, and then we'll discuss it, and I'll nudge it forward a little bit more, and we arrive at a round number that we both agree on. Sometimes it's, a little more than I hoped, or maybe Steve hoped, but we do the very best we can because we are present with what we value here. And now I've seen the exciting math, and I'm going to share with you. It's true that if every family unit gave $25 more, just $25 more, and I know that some cannot, and I hold that to be true, I understand, and others can give much more. But in that spirit of increased energy to what we love, we will reach the big goal easily. And this gives that needed raise to our staff, the care and keeping of Rev Kevin, Siobhan, and Toby. They are so worth it. So yeah, when a visiting steward contacts you in the next week or so, welcome them and share with them what you love about UUCM and where the energy of your heart lies. They will walk you through the pledge form and get it turned in for you, and you'll sing. You'll be singing, "We did it, it's over, yay!" And you'll feel so energized. All right, so I'm just gonna wrap it up. Tina Diao, a UU ministerial intern, shares this with us. Every act of kindness, generosity, and love overflows its bounds. Our acts of kindness, generosity, and love multiply. Stewardship is a call to transformation. Stewardship is an invitation to do new things with people in this community and beyond our walls. Generously giving of our time, talents, and treasure to this church community is a radical act of hope that has ripple effects that continue to multiply in people's lives and in the world. We give because we are invested in the creation of a truly beloved community. Thank you.
Now we know why he gave us an egg. So we can care for it, treasure it, steward it into the potential it holds for us individually and as a congregation. We do that through this offering in part that feeds the potential of this church community and of our wider community as well, as we share 25% of our offering with a local nonprofit whose work manifests our values. That 25% or more, if you choose, this month goes to Child Advocates of Nevada County. Their rich programs include CASA, the court-appointed special advocate that brings forth the voice of each child in Nevada County's foster care system. And Healthy Babies that helps new moms and dads feel more confident and supported in the new life that they are caring for. And also the Child Safety Puppeteers that actually recruits and trains high school students to perform these educational puppet shows in the elementary school classrooms all across the county. These developmentally appropriate performances teach the children how to recognize abuse, inappropriate touching, and bullying. Generosity comes in many sizes and shapes. Please give in the shape that fits you. And those who want to give 100% of their gift to Child Advocates of Nevada County can put it in the white envelope in the basket. See the next slide for the various ways that you can give. Thank you for your generosity. We dedicate these gifts to stewarding the potential that waits inside each of us to come fully to life.
I think I might keep the egg here. I like having something in my hands to keep my hands busy. This is actually working really well for me today. Thank you to Lori and Gwen and Jean for welcoming people and passing out eggs this morning, to Shanti for another beautiful setting, complete with flowers today. Eileen Hale, thanks for the extra today on the chat. I think Keith Johnson is not well today, so I know Martha has disappeared from the room to go help set up refreshments. Thanks to everyone who's been part of that. Jenny Dewey and Cheryl Spalding either are with Kids Connection or were ready to be. Steve, thanks so much for playing the drums, and Toby, of course, for playing. Gail, thanks for being worship associate for the entire month of February and our theme of justice and equity. Thanks to Andy Dooley Miller and Cypress anchoring us in the back on the audiovisual equipment, and to everyone who volunteered today, both words and actions as part of the service. A few announcements: the stewards are coming. welcome them, you members and friends. Yep. And so we invite you to welcome them and then pledge sometime between tomorrow and the end of March. There's a jam cafe Paul is planning for this coming Thursday, a play and sing along, very fun. The first one is very fun. And there we go. Pride Family Potluck on Friday at 6 o'clock. LGBTQ plus folks and allies and all ages are welcome. You can contact Renee, who is just up speaking, if you have questions about that. Paul Elias signed up UUCM to adopt a section of the road. If you haven't seen this sign, it goes right, it's a piece right after Nevada Union High School. So the sign's right by the high school there that names Unitarian Universalist. So the first cleanup will be next Sunday. You can join the postcard club. This is to help get out the vote. And Gail has actually slips that give all the scoop in one nice spot. And you can either be one of those people that signs up for postcards or one of the people that helps fund those postcards. I want to name today too that after the service, or as soon as our refreshments start to wind a little bit, we're going to do a brainstorming for the a coming theme. So just come join, sit in for a bit for a total free-form brainstorming if that interests you. And next week, for those who are kind of new to the congregation, we'll do a UU 101. We will do a basic introduction to UU 101. So think about that after the service next Sunday. As always, the website has more. So to close today, I invite us to sing together the song that was really the theme song for our stewarding campaign a couple years ago, Life Calls Us On, and it names so many of the things we've been talking about today. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and to sing together, maybe even with egg in hand. Here in reverence now we gather for the blessings we have known, with a pledge to one another that we journey not alone. Joy and sorrow make us wise, kin to all that lives and dies. Love calls us on. Love calls us on. Words and deeds of those before us, waken here to keep us strong. Blend our voices in the chorus of creation's living song. Courage bids us lift our eyes upward to the shining skies. Hope calls us on. Hope calls us on. Loyal guides in love and duty, lead us with a trusted light. Blessed are those whose inward beauty shows the path of truth and right. Honor is their earthly prize. By their work we realize faith calls us on. Faith calls us on. yet shall be. Bright the path before us lies. Joyful pilgrims now we rise. Life calls us on. 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 For our closing words, I invite us to recall the opening words, the chalice lighting words that you composed. Would you call out some of those things you named? We said, we light this chalice for? What? Sorry? Peace. Healing, Ukraine. Connection. Hope, democracy. Community, love. Stewardship. Commitment. May these, all those things we're holding, be what we steward within these walls, within this congregation, and beyond this congregation. And remembering that although Gail will extinguish our chalice, we're going to carry this light with us, and with these words to remind us that we do so. Together, let us carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. Hopefully soon, join us for refreshments if you're here in the building. We'll see all of you next Sunday for our new theme of transformation.